Going to our YouTube land, Dan here from Geekcast Radio, doing another Marvel Fresh Start review. This time I'm continuing my look at the Venom series with a review of Venom number 4. And if you've checked out my other reviews, you'll see that I enjoyed this like many. I've been really digging this Venom series, even not as a huge Venom fan. I've really kind of been liking what Donny has been doing in the world of Marvel, and Venom has been the same thing, especially Ryan Stegman's art, and he continues to be fantastic here. The one thing I've been waiting for, and that's one thing I asked for from the beginning, is to give me more reasons to care about Eddie Brock as a character. I've enjoyed Venom as a character more so when he's been with Flash Thompson. Eddie Brock has always been a character I feel like less is more, in the sense of like anytime he's had his own series, I tend to not care after a while. Like he seems to me to be somewhat of a one-dimensional character, where he's more defined by his relationship to Spider-Man than he's defined by himself. So I wanted to get more reasons to care about him as a character, get more understanding of who he is, like why is he, what drives him outside of his hatred for Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and so far we haven't really got that. And in honesty, issue 4 is probably my least favorite of all the issues that have come out. This is like the wrench issue. This is all epilogue, not epilogue, but this is all kind of building the lore of Venom, giving us where he comes from, this new character, his history, the symbiotes. It is kind of all those questions that have been asked. I was surprised that it's like, okay, 4 issues in, where what is this? Where are these questions? And which ones I thought would linger much longer than they are. This issue's coming in saying, no, we're going to answer everything. We're going to answer who this character is, where he comes from, what drove him here, and so in that sense, within 4 issues, we have a new status quo, a new history for Venom, and even ties into some of the past aspects of Venom's character in the worlds we've learned about. And it's on that it does that thing where it's like, oh, you learned, those things you knew about in the past, those weren't true. This is actually the truth. This is actually what really happened. And my challenge with that as a reader is that we're learning a history lesson that in 3 years from now, there's a good chance that may actually not be the history anymore, and it'll be rewritten again. So I don't mind learning this. My issue is becoming when it becomes the focal point of the story, and the characters end up getting lost. Like 4 issues in, I'm still not sure, what exactly is driving Eddie Brock. I know he's damaged. I know he's struggling. I think he needs a relationship with his symbiote, but outside of that, I'm still struggling to know why I should care about him as a character, and that's the one piece that I think has not been clicking yet with this series. So one piece that I think, if that is keeping this away from being the level of what Donny Cates' best series. Like with Thanos Wins, I thought he did a good job of having these big ideas, but tying it into Thanos, and like everything felt connected. It feels like Eddie Brock is a small piece in a bigger puzzle that he's just an observer to, which is kind of what's happening. But the downside of that is we aren't really learning much about him as a character, and that's maybe just not the point. I think it's wrong to review the comic you want rather than the comic you have. But at the same time, in order for me to enjoy the comic I have, I've got to care about the players that are involved here. And I think, 4 issues in, I just sort of want a little bit more about Brock as a character, maybe take a step back. And I will say, at least a lot of these questions that have been raised since issue number 1, they're all answered here. So that bodes well, I think, for the future. I think that it's like, okay, here's everything. I did love how it tied into, basically, Donny Cates was able to find cracks into the world of the Marvel lore and kind of seek in like his own ideas, which I thought was fantastic. It's very symbiote-esque, oozing into the cracks, and kind of taking over different things, but more complementing it than anything. So that was really well done. And Ryan Stegman's art continues to be fantastic. I love, that when we learn about the person that kind of caused the symbiotes to be the symbiotes, that was surprising, but also makes a lot of sense. I'm like, that actually works really well. So it's not necessarily like this was a bad issue. It just, it was one that I was the least engaged with. But I'm excited for where it's going to come, because it just gives a lot of answers. It does bring us up to speed regarding who this character is and where we got here. So issue 5 might actually give me what I want, and I'm continuing with it. Like I said, I've never read a Venom series this long before, so I'm sure people who love Venom and love Eddie Brock as a character probably don't have nearly the apprehension that I do with this issue. But again, it's not that it's bad. It's just when I've had my expectation for the series has been so high. When you have a book that's like, not in the middle of that expectation, it ends up looking lower compared to like another book that's half as good as it. So still would recommend picking it up, but may end up even reading better in trade. Like I would say, if you read Thanos Wins, you're like, I want to read something that's the same level as that. This for me isn't there yet, but it could be moving forward. So it also could be because I like Thanos more as a character. So maybe that's my own personal judgment seeking in there a little bit. Who knows? But for those that haven't been reading Venom, I know it's been really popular. A lot of people have been loving it. What are your thoughts on that? Have you read this issue? Am I off kilter? Am I crazy? Am I missing the point? Let me know in the comment section below. But that's it for me. Just remember, comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.